Welcome to Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's ARAEL.
From the future, by way of the past. I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another day of the Andronicus transmissions. And it's funny because we call it the Andronicus transmissions, but there's usually a whole group of different ones that show up, and I have transmissions and messages related to what's going on at the present time. Each week I receive this information, and each week is related to what is going on currently. So if people want to kind of figure out what's going on at the time during these transmissions, you just have to look at the date. For those especially that are looking at archives. Hello, JP. I just want to bring you into the conversation.
Hey, Jessica. How are you?
Good. I'm kind of excited about the website.
There's so many exciting things going on.
Yes.
Go ahead, the website.
Olivia's been doing an amazing job. I wrote down some content. We're starting to pull it together. I have some sketches that I did of the characters of how I see them. And had asked a graphic artist to do it for me, but you know how that is. Some people are kind of all over the map, and if I can get to it, I think I may end up doing the artwork myself. And I apologize if it's not as beautiful, wonderful, but maybe a graphic artist can take a hold of it and
let's do a call out
tune it up a bit.
Yeah, let's do a call out to perhaps even psychically sensitive artists who can really drill down into the depth of that feeling of who that person is and bring that out into some portraits of these not quite imaginary beings, but they are certainly. Over the months of this last year, you've certainly described them quite well on lots of different levels. So. Well, if anybody
etheric beings rather than imaginary,
Yeah, sorry. I use the word imaginary because it's not. I mean, you're using your imagination engine, the imaging engine. You know, people. Here's a really good thing because it's an interesting subject. Yeah, we are told that our imagination is trivial. Even the word trivial is trivial, but is not important, is not to be listened to. Yet, we're now getting to the point when we actually have to live by our imaginations and our intuitions. Otherwise, and in the next few years, people will die if they don't. This is how how intense the world is going to get. If you're not intuitive, you're going to not take the right turn where you thought your mind says turn left, your intuition says right. And that's where you meet the 10-ton truck coming the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And all of these things that we've been trained to dismiss. Let's say, you're going down you're in the supermarket and you see something catches your eye, just something, a packet of dried fruit, let's say, and then later on. You come back and you're talking to your little kid or something, and the kid was saying, "Yeah, Mummy, I really wanted some of those nice dried fruit today," and you realise that you were drawn to it, but you ignored it. And I think, if anything, any kind of training that we want to give to people to survive this next period, that's what you've got to do. You've got to listen to your intuition and actually act on it. Train yourself to act on the smallest intuitions, and your intuition will do it gently. It'll take you through a training course, starting very simply and then getting more and more sophisticated until you're actually talking to the soul the way that you talk to Rhodan and Andronicus. So
Absolutely.
that's imaging or imagination. So I wasn't intending at all to trivialize it.
Yeah, no, I know you weren't. And the terminology sometimes puts people in a place of, well, that they don't fully understand it. And so that that definition of imagination is often used because they don't know where to place it. They don't know how to define it.
Exactly.
And I will say that there's more than one person that has contacted me and had a connection to one or many of the characters. I have people that are very connected to Rhodan. There are people that are very connected to Kraton. There are people that have said, I favor Meetis, which is, it's kind of fun. And, that they're connecting, and I don't have ownership to them. These are beings that exist. And if they have a relationship with you, then they have a relationship with you. I'm assuming that if you're listening, you feel connected in some way and recognize it. There are those that have Titan souls. They were here during the time of the Titans, or they were Vikings, or something of that nature. And so, for those that have that, will feel very drawn to this show because these are those early beings of the Titans. But there are also others here as well. And so I found there's a collective group from a couple that I met, which is going to roll into the show today. A couple that I met and I didn't know who they were when they first appeared, and they appeared somewhere this weekend, I think. And it was a woman and a man, and the woman started to give me a hard time, questioning me, who am I, blah, 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 went on and on. But prior to that, I had this very lucid dream where I was in this kingdom, in this space, but it looked like some kind of weird, long mall, but all white. But it looked like it was hand-painted, not, the way that, it just kind of looked kind of like someone took a roller brush and went over some very rough wood. So you see sort of the wood kind of bleeding through it a bit. And it looks patched. So I saw this very high ceiling. I want to say maybe a 20-foot ceiling, and then long, like you're going through a corridor, but the corridor was very large. And then at the end there was this big white end. It didn't look like a door, but looked like it was patched over it. And it looked makeshift. I don't know any other way to say it. And then I had this vision of the floor actually dissipating and collapsing, like defragmenting or, whatever. It just sort of falling beneath me and collapsing beneath me, but I didn't fall. And then I saw a king and a queen laying in their bed, and then they disappeared. The king looked like a giant. The female looked like she was closer to the scale of a human. They looked very mismatched. But later on, these two came to me. One of them, the male, who was the king, called himself Zoba, and the female called herself Petra. And immediately I knew who they were, and they were from the story of Ovid and the story of Petra and Deculion. And I'm not even sure if I'm saying his name. I don't know how to. It's kind of like DEU, kind of like a strange kind of spelling. So before I go into the story, which we're going to have two guests today. One is Amy Delgado, who's going to read the role of Petra, who was Petra. And I asked, who could do that, because I just felt like I wasn't supposed to do it. And Amy came to mind, and Amy and I have known each other for a while now, and has been listening to the show for a while and listens to many other things, and I think she was very excited to take on the role of Petra because of who Petra is. She's an ancient. And of course, JP, you'll read the role of Zoba, and he's
not Zoba the Greek, but Zoba the etheric being.
That's very funny. Yeah, it's just sort of like Zorba the Greek, right? Was it Zorba?
Do you know, I was thinking this afternoon, well, I was just like messing around with my solar panels and, well, thoughts passed through your head. And the name Zoroaster came through my mind. And the idea that Aster, the word Aster means star, as in asterisk.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah? So Zoroaster perhaps means Zorro from the stars, or something like that. But we've been having trouble with Zoroaster, haven't we?
Yeah, and I think that
I don't know if this is relevant to Zoba, but Zora and Zoba and things like that seem to be connected here.
Yeah, and I did ask if Zoba was Zoroaster, and they said no. It's a completely different being. He's a giant, but Zoroaster what did way back in time get into the quantum field of our reality and altered it to create some kind of like an elasticity where people would try to change something and then it would default, it would bounce back or pull back, snap back into what he wanted it to be. And
Really?
He also had many priests and many different people, humans that he trained in the arts, and this is where we get the mystery religions and a lot of that stuff.
Oh, hang on a second. So there was a distortion that he created that was set up that was then kept going by his priesthood. Are you saying that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. They reinforced the energy, and this is where you get like kind of the some of the black arts.
Yeah, this is the false matrix, isn't it? This is the matrix that is the matrix of lies, and this is what holds things like PR, public relations, and all of this satanic ritual stuff. They're all in the same flow. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So this was set into our foundations, which is the area
this is
where
the distorted foundation that caused that Rhodan was very. Now, who was it? Somebody was looking at the foundations recently. Like this is
Kraton.
Yeah. So Kraton. I mean, you could imagine, say, Kraton is like a mechanical engineer. Is that he's there to make sure that the bridge doesn't get too rusty that will start collapsing. So. And these people who work on bridges and really heavy mechanics and stuff like that, they're very crude. They work, with enormous metal and enormous crudities. Very little subtlety, so I wonder about, this is the character that mechanics have. They're not, for instance, it's very hard for a woman to walk into a group of mechanics because they don't like women. Very horrible to them. And every time a woman would walk into a car mechanics or something like that, there's this funny little thing that goes on where they basically they denigrate the woman. It's a funny place.
It is. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Thank you.
Yes.
Because I'm going into this zone. And it's that boys' zone that is in the Fight Club and all those things, the testosterone world. And, you don't, there's this sense with a lot of women, I want to see what goes on there. You don't really. You really don't want to know. Because then you'd stay at home and never go out. Anyway.
No, and that's interesting because we are going to be talking about male-female, and the end of the show it's Cindy. And how, there is a separation, but, the story, it's an interesting story, but we're going to start off with, this story of, with Petra. And, actually, I don't know if we can put the link onto the chat room, but it's it's just a Wikipedia
one. Yeah, I'll put it there just
now. Also, the other part to look at is that she called herself Petra, and there was actually a city called Petra. So, we'll get into that afterwards. But, JP, did you want to read, or do you want me to read? Maybe I can read because you do most of the reading, the transmissions. And so the story of Petra is from Greek mythology. Interesting enough, she has daughters called Epimetheus, Pandora, and was the daughter Epithymus and
Prometheus. No, sorry.
And Pandora.
All right, so this is not. So, sorry. There was Prometheus and Epimetheus. They're not the same people.
No.
No. Okay, sorry. So, because Epimetheus means hindsight and Prometheus means foresight.
Okay, so Petra was the daughter. I had this confused. Petra is the daughter of Pandora.
The daughter of Pandora, right?
Epimetheus. Yeah. It was. I don't know who Epimetheus is on the whole family chart. We'd have to probably take a lot. That's another probably research or topic, and I'm sure people can look it up. But she marries a man by the name of Deucalion, and now this story will sound very much like Noah's Ark. So when Zeus decided to end the Bronze Age with the Great Deluge, Deucalion and his wife Petra were the only survivors, even though he was imprisoned. Prometheus, who could see the future and had foreseen the coming of the flood, told his son, so you were the father of Deucalion. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't even read that part. All right, to build an ark, and thus they survived. During the flood, they landed on Mount Parnassus, the only place spared by the flood. Okay. Once the deluge was over, the couple were on land. Deucalion consulted an oracle of Themis about how to repopulate the earth. He was told to throw the bones of the mother behind his shoulder. Deucalion and Petra understood the mother to be Gaia, the mother of all living things, and the bones to be rocks. They threw the rocks behind their shoulder, which soon began to lose their hardness and change form. Their mass grew greater, and the beginnings of human form emerged. The parts that were soft and moist became skin, the veins of the rock became people's veins, and the hardest parts of the rocks became bones. The stones thrown by Petra became women, and those thrown by Deucalion became men. And so then it goes on to talk about Themis and some other information. But I just wanted to show that this is one of those stories of where humans came from, right? And
exactly, it's what we call a creation myth.
It's a creation myth.
Or a creation story, yeah.
This is from Ovid, who was one of the early writers, ancient Greek writers. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else in this story. So anyhow, you see this connection of Petra being connected in that the mother to be Gaia, right? All right, so we see this comes up, but also that she was the daughter of Pandora. And I recently had Pandora show up and face to face in form, and she was a little abrupt with me, and now I understand why. They'll actually show up to me. And I had someone tell me
what
that.
What have you been saying about me?
From the ACIO, someone told me I had an encounter with this woman who was very short with me, and she was demanding things from me, and I demanded back. I didn't know who she was, and I later found out that she was Pandora. So, anyhow, so, and of course, like I said, we're all, many are incarnated, and then I had this conversation. So we're going to go into the first transmission. I would like to bring in, unless JP, you have any statement, because your incarnation mentioned here.
They always talk about me.
I know. Why?
Look, I'm beginning to realize that I haven't had a mild-mannered past life at all.
Don't you have one this life?
This life is a little more mild-mannered than these previous ones. Maybe I'm here to tell all the stories of it, but anyhow.
Look at all the super soldiers that gravitate toward you.
Yeah. So there's all these super soldiers, and there's all these other other people and beings that are coming into my life, and it's just really interesting, the confluence of it all, that everything is happening all at the same time, and they're coming from many different directions, which is really good. That's what's really good, because if it was one direction, one dimension, then I could easily be duped into being manipulated into it. But because there's other things going on, I have other ways of checking realities, as you do. And
so and so you would have been the father of Zoba, or the Tukulian, but who came to me and gave me his name Zoba, which I feel is in some language meaning father.
Mm-hmm. And so this guy's a giant, yeah?
He was large, yeah. He was really large.
Okay.
And he had wild, kind of wavy hair.
The wavy hair.
Yeah.
Does it wave back? Yeah. Roosevelt says, yes, JP, you need a past life review. There's just, what I've seen, there's just too many. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, you know, and a lot of them you don't want to know. He wasn't a nice guy. Now I'm realizing it's not very good. Anyway, so, well, I mean, it depends who you are. If you're human, it was great. Yeah, he liked humans.
Yeah. Oh, but there's another thing too, is I've been seeing a lot of giants. They're awakening.
Yeah.
And no more than one. And I think that's how I got in trouble too, is because I'm waking them up, and you know how people are when they wake up.
And they haven't had any coffee for 15,000 years.
Yeah. So like, first thing is, who are you?
Yeah. Where's my bloody coffee?
Yeah. What's going on? Why does everything look so different? You know, I mean, it's this whole disoriented thing. And no one really wants to be there when that person wakes up grouchy.
Yeah.
You know? And unfortunately, my etheric self is awakening them, and then I'll see them in my eyes, and they're looking at me, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, can I say that word shit?
Yeah, I think you can say oh shit on your show, yeah.
I just don't know any other word to say.
It's an OSM, as we call it, an oh shit moment.
So anyhow, because I don't know what the encounter is in here. Again, this was one of those encounters. So now, then the question was why was she referring to herself as Petra? So then I went over and looked at the story of Petra. Petra's actually a location in Jordan, an ancient city that was built deep into the rock. It is magnificent looking. It's a beautiful pink stone.
Absolutely. Do you know what it looks like to me?
Yeah.
It looks like somebody's used a 3D printer and laser cutter. It's called a plasma cutter. And you can do it. You can do it with stone. These days you have equipment that can do that if you scale it up a bit. But essentially, it's cut with fire, with plasma. And that's how they can get these amazing stone things. And it's like somebody's taken a great big rubber stamp and stamped it into the rock, isn't it? It's just perfect.
It's gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. Not to mention that the stone itself is a beautiful rose color. And so Petra is the rose city due to the color of its stone. Established possibly in early 312 BC in the capital city of the Arab Nabateans. It is a symbol of Jordan, as well as Jordan's most visited tourist attraction. So you're looking at an ancient place. She claimed that they made this city for her. So that's, and also Petra, meaning rock, stone, that you can't move it. It doesn't budge. She's also indicating that she's a foundation.
Yeah, as in petrify.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyhow, and so just like whether you agree or disagree, these personalities exist. And they're holding their space, and so I show respect. They, even if they're not very nice, people have asked me, why do you put up with this? Like with Meetis, and even Kraton was hard with me in the beginning, and after a while, then they start to relax, and we'll see later on in the transmissions why this is so.
They have, see, alright, so, again, back to, live figuring out what I'm here for in real time, is, by researching PTSD in humans, I've got the idea of what it is. And I've got the idea, as you've seen and heard me demonstrate several times now on the radio and live and on sessions, how to get people back into the place where they can heal it. So now, we have to do that with the gods.
Right. And actually that's in the messaging. That's what's in the messaging. You're going to see
Isn't that funny? Because you see, my guides 10 years ago, they said, you are here to help deal with, or to fix, I think they said, really like fix it, the current preoccupation. And I said, what do you mean the current preoccupation? And they said the current preoccupation is war. And I said, right, okay. And then they said, but it all comes down to the freezing. I'll have to find the exact piece. I'll find it later on. But they said that it's to do with the frozen emotional body that exists. We can't see it, but we get points of freezing in there. We say fight, flight, or freeze, but we freeze that point, and we freeze the feeling out. But the feeling still carries on throughout our lifetime and, beyond lifetimes. If we pinch a feeling away, it'll keep coming up. But these feelings also are our karma. So by entering into these little zones, and we find them quite easily when people get angry, when people go off on one, that's an excellent moment to take them through a reconnecting healing process. So if you can grab it at the right time, just before they really totally explode and get violent, and start feeling, then you can guide them through their feelings and reconnect them with the time when that feeling was created, or when that feeling was pushed out of their body so that they didn't want to experience it. But that creates the experience of it coming over and over and over again as it's coming out for healing. So that's how we get, how you can move it to healing. So maybe you might need to use this technique to get, and it's this whole thing about, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth to get them to cool down. What we found out from Aurora the other day, was the in through the nose and out through the mouth breath is a cooling breath. This is the yoga thing. So it's a cooling breath. And although I'm talking about something that is frozen, it's like fire and ice. It's real, It's fire and ice, and it holds the fragmented and separate.
They used to say to me fire and ice all the time, and I didn't know why.
Yeah, so imagine when you're breathing into this feeling, it's like we've frozen it out, but it's burning. So we've surrounded the fire with ice.
Interesting.
And it becomes numb. It's comfortably numb. Hello. Is there anybody in there? Man, I've performed that song so many times,
Hey, well, maybe we should have that song before we bring in Amy.
Yeah, because actually, Amy, if you're listening, could you come and connect with me on Skype? I've sent you a contact request, but I can't bring you into the call until you do. If you could do that, thank you very much. Where do you want to start? Should we do a reading before Amy comes with us, or?
No, we're going to go right into Zoba and Petra.
Zoba and Petra. So let me just bring them up and.
So why don't we? Because she's going to read that part, so maybe we should take a music break and then bring her in.
Okay, then. In that case, I need to find a version of Comfortably Numb. A nice 7-minute version. There's plenty of them.
Do we have a short version?
There is no short version of Comfortably Numb, but we can fade it out when we're all sorted out. But we'll just use it to cover the moment. There's one. This is from 2013 in September the 14th.
I thought you might have had one yourself that you did?
Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
this is my band Steel Badge with comfortably on. You'll hear me on vocals and the lead guitar. So well, while we're doing the whole connecting with Amy, have a enjoy. Last week,
That's how it goes.
Four.
It's been incredible. It's been incredible. It's been a very uplifting and interesting experience. So yeah. Meanwhile, we're back now on air.
We're back now in here with Amy Delgado.
Amy Delgado. Welcome, Amy. Hello.
Hello, thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
She's my lovely friend from New Hampshire, and so happy that she's here. I was at the fair the other day and wasn't expecting it, and there she is. And we sat down and talked, and I'm supposed to be doing readings for people, but we ended up getting caught up in conversation. and, all sorts of things came out, but Amy's, is a good person, and I thought was ideal for this role, and I'd like to bring in the people that I know, and I have many wonderful people in my life because of the work that I do and the show and so forth, so I'm so grateful that I can do that, but we're going to get into character, and we did a little practice run yesterday, Amy, right?
Yes. We sure
Amy,
did.
did you want to say anything before we get started?
Well, last night I had an interesting dream. A couple of weeks ago I met some giants, and I was a giant in a dream. And then last night I was in a place where there was some technology, but it was round and like a big donut, like a round. And what came to mind was Atlantis, but it was quite interesting, like a quite interesting dream about ancient times. So that was a nice precursor to today.
I think we're all awakening, aren't we? We're all remembering and remembering through our dreams as well.
Yeah, I think so. So
JP, she was a Titan, maybe. Maybe she was one of the Titans.
Oh.
I think you're trying. JP, you still there?
Yeah, have a look at this, Amy. Can you see this? This is a torus that is made of stainless steel wire,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and it does this amazing thing.
The torus is like a donut.
Yeah. So
you
this is
have-
the donut shape. This is essentially like a three-dimensional Mobius strip. And it springs into this toroidal form, which is exactly what an atom is. Just springs
Yeah,
up.
that's
So
right.
so you're talking about a donut form. This is what you're talking about. This is what they call a torus or a toroid. And when you twist it, what happens when you twist it is it collapses. And that's what they call collapsing the waveform. There you go. Anyway, please, I'll stop interrupting you.
All right. So did you tell the audience that Petra had been in stasis? Well, I'm sure everybody understands that, right? She had been a stasis being.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what comes up in the transmission. I think, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think so. Something about her reawakening.
She'd been asleep. But there's more discussion on that later by Rhodan talks about it, and Andronicus talks about it a bit. So we haven't gotten there yet. But we should probably move along.
Yeah.
And I just want to express my gratitude. Thank you for being here. And thank you for reading the role of Petra. And JP will read the role of Zoba, and I'll be myself.
Okay, I'm just setting the controls for the time machine. Everybody ready? Keep your hands in.
We have observed you from afar. What do you have to say for yourself? This is not your contingency. I am in charge here.
Hush now, Petra, be kind. You know they're all our children.
We need to remind them who is in charge. It is our lineage they are speaking to. Who are you? Come forward and discuss this with me. Come now.
You know who I am. We met a long time ago.
I see. So they call you Sumer now. Far from the place you once were as a queen. I called you an intruder then, and an intruder now.
Oh, stop, Petra. She's not our enemy. She's worked here for many a season and then some.
I'm not an intruder. I have just as much right to be here as you do.
So you say. And this man you call Primus, he is a Titan, is he not? You are stirring up sundry giants throughout the land, and this is what had awakened us? Did you think we would lay in our slumber while you were instructing our contingency of warriors?
Yeah, this is all true. Why do you impose upon our kingdom?
I wasn't aware of doing that. Can you tell me who they are, and I will discuss it with you?
We are asking you to leave. Go back to Venus now. Because of you, Gaia is upset. You don't have any business disturbing Gaia.
I spoke to Gaia. I haven't done anything wrong to her. As a matter of fact, Gaia approached me and asked me to take the planet, and I refused because it's not mine to take. She has to make these arrangements elsewhere.
Well, that is correct. She took the planet from me, and then I see you there. What has been going on while I was asleep? She probably wanted you to be the one in charge when she saw I was awakening.
Next page.
Tell me, Sumer, what are your plans for being here? I know why Gaia was here.
Wasn't this planet given to Gaia?
No, never. This was our kingdom, given to us many thousands of years before. I believe they tricked us.
Is that really true? Well, are you sure that maybe something else happened?
It is the truth. We were given this planet long ago, and these are our children, not Gaia. She has children here as well, that is true, but we have the seed of your most early humans on the planet. Zabo, are the true parents.
I'm glad you have sense enough to listen to us. We don't want to harm you, but we can if you are disruptive and disagreeable. I have warned many in the past about the very same thing.
Well, I'm not sure about this. If this, of its proper perspective, I guess. I'm trying to help the planet while there are many who are currently trying to destroy the planet. And so why have they chosen to speak to me?
Because you are able to see us and hear what we are saying. We want all to know that we did not do this or allow any of it. Gaia was not suited to manage this planet. That is the reason why she is complaining and upset about its upkeep. She doesn't know how to speak to my children, and they will never listen to her, only me.
I understand where you're coming from. I'm also a parent. However, you should be more mindful about some of the bigger issues at hand. There are many intruders on the planet, and they care very little about who is in charge or whether or not this planet gets destroyed.
I see. She really failed in her efforts to rule and is currently not doing so well. What happened to her planet and why is she here? I refuse to speak to her directly.
I don't know, Petra. The only thing I know is that she approached me and said that she was wary of fighting off the negative beings and was wary of it all. I do think she intended to help the planet, not hurt it.
Then why were we put into a deep sleep so the entire world passes us by? We don't even recognize where we are at. It has been disorienting. Had you not awakened the giants, we would have slept through our destruction. Come closer to me so I can take a look at you. You haven't changed much. A bit brighter, maybe. Do you remember a story I told you long ago about a woman who finds herself tossed to and fro by the storms of life only to discover that she was only steps away from solitude? Well, that story was about you. I thought you might learn from it, but it appears to have been your destiny. Where can I find Gaia? I need to speak to her now. I believe they are hiding her from me.
Who would hide her from you? And why doesn't she speak to you directly?
Because she is afraid of what she did to us.
Do you believe she put you to sleep so she could run the planet?
Well, of course. She is my prime suspect. Go and find her.
Petra then spoke with a firm voice to one of her giants.
We will check in with you later. And remember, we are watching your steps.
I can understand your reasons for being angry, but you should gather your information first before you take any actions.
We know what to do. Go now. I will call on you when I am ready to address you.
Go on, child. No need to worry about us. I will speak to her for your behalf. I know you are innocent.
Then a mighty door in the clouds closed and they were gone.
There we are. Meanwhile, back in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Petra.
Well,
I was going to say, well, Petra. Well, Amy.
The voice of Petra.
The voice of Petra.
But you did very well.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So, what did you get any see, one of the things is you get little insights when you read these things out. You know, as they come through you get these insights because you're tuning in with the being. Did you on an instant, did you get any instance?
Yeah, well, wasn't there quite a bit of confusion? She was quite confused in the beginning, kind of accusatory, and then she kind of developed, a memory of Sumer, right? And softened up a little bit and was still quite maternal in her role.
I think that she also, you can feel the sense of a monarch there, and how even though maybe she wanted to be softer, she had to assert herself in a way that was her natural, demand. I need to see, I need to talk to, bring them to me. Those type of references that clearly indicated the attitude of someone that was fully in the position of rulership. And, yeah.
And don't you find it to be so interesting that she would feel the planet would be her responsibility as a custodian, opposed to Gaia? That's a really large claim to make, no?
It is, and which made me wonder, why would someone talk like that unless they were actually in that situation? Now, according to the story, this would have been after maybe some, like a deluge, and after the deluge where she actually created these children. And, in the fabled story, however you want to say it, but in her interpretation, they were her children and they were Gaia's children. And so for me, that was interesting because she was just depicting a separation.
Or different projects. There's this thing about that there was a point when those who made the earth, flooded the earth to kill everybody off because that was the end of the experiment. Like, just you take the lab to pieces and, clean all the instruments and start another experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, when you create life, you've got all this spirit that then starts incarnating. So we've got all these bodies, we've got all these minds, and then we've got all these spirits who are incarnating into current day bodies, even though they're like titans, like you.
Right. And so, from here, I think that maybe Amy will stick around while we do the rest of the show. Amy, are you allowed to? Does that fit in your schedule? Okay, great. So we're going to read.
If you wouldn't mind muting your mic, if you go Control and M, that'll you can then type and do all sorts of stuff without. Yeah.
Okay.
Say hello, Amy. Say hi.
Hello?
All right, we can still hear you.
Yeah, you can maybe look on Skype. There is a place where you can click on a microphone, and it will have a line going through it that will.
Are you on a Windows or Mac? Oh, good. You've done it. That's it.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you very much, Amy. Yeah. Next one.
Next one, we're going to go into Rhodan. We have to keep within the. No, actually, Andronicus. We're going to do Andronicus 53.
I'm here. I know you've been having some troubles, but I am still by your side. They can't see me or persuade me otherwise. Our dimensional force is strong and going stronger. We're here to support those whose intentions are with the benevolent good of the universe. There are many who would like to cut you down for your work. They embellish that you have a bad side or alter. That is not true. There are even some who would like to persuade the masses that you have agendas. It is us who have agendas, not you. You only open your heart to hear us. We have an agenda to bring the planet back to where it should be without control systems interfering with the consciousness of the soul. For this very reason, you are under attack. They've tried to attack your health, your emotions, your friendships, your families. They've threatened to harm you and even manifested in the flesh to take you out of the fields of reality. I know you don't feel strong and regard yourself as a warrior. I know at this point you trust no one. I know your sorrow. I would have preferred using someone who was well supported. I would have preferred that you were better trained to defend as a soldier. It was not my choice to select you for this work. It was Rhodan. He said you were capable of doing it, and I still trust that he knows the inner workings of your soul. Don't allow them to pull you to their whims and desires of personal gain or dominations. Be fluid, malleable, and unattainable in all things. You don't serve any, and are not required to do so. You are as a maverick in a storm. Find your refuge wherever you dwell. Find your refuge within. I can't tell you that it will be over soon. The onslaught is just beginning, not ending. Only it will become more sophisticated, more hidden, and more integrated. Don't have any fear. Whatever happens, we can help. We can intercede in ways unimaginable. Be in love always. Here is something I need to warn you about. The being we call the Gardener. He is very crafty and has been involved in every disruption to the planet. He has no name because we refuse to give him power, because there's power in one's name. His followers are called the Gardener 2, Gardener 3, etc. It is a cluster, but most often forms as one. You are not directly interacting or changing on the surface of the dimensions. You, because of your ancient status, can walk amongst the ancients with ease. This is where you have been confronting the perpetrators of your reality and the many pocket realities and macroverses you have seen. A few days back, I assisted you in locating a macroverse where I saw one of your clients, a Montauk traveler, in dire straits upon a medical bed and attended by seeming medical professionals in lab coats. I brought to your attention to observe their faces, and there you saw that their faces were as zombies with skin that looked stretched and as burned as melted. They were performing tests on him that they were not allowed in any other reality. I called in my men and the men of Rhodan to look into these conditions and remove them. At that point, 4 other humans similar to that man were released, and went through a healing process. It is not just the seen, but the unseen that has been plaguing humanity. This is your work, to find and reveal the unseen, to speak the ancients who are still influencing humanity and help them find peace, to help us better protect the innocent.
I understand all of this, and this is what keeps me going. I see the end result and the good in it. I remember when I was young, I wanted to remove the visions. I wanted to shake it all from me and never live in a place where I was seeing things without understanding what was going on. It wasn't until I realized that I could take this ability to help others. Then it had a purpose. I realized that my task is being expanded to assist the planet by communicating with the upper realm to find harmony in other tasks of seeing and communication. I know there are others who do this work as well. It is beautiful. I willfully do it, knowing that so many will benefit by it. People have asked me why I communicate with the temperaments, who appear to have a lower consciousness. What they don't realize is that this is a part of our ancient structure and how they are. Through ancestral ties and genetics, we also retain a similar emotional ego that reflects many around us today. Remember, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as we know it.
One day, none of this will matter. You will have peace, and so will others. I was told that you have contributed to this disharmony, and it is your job to make specific things right. Where you don't have any say, merely point out the imbalance, and others will be there to assist you. I want you to go now in peace, and without worry. Love is you. You are love. Share it with others. Be at peace. Also, tell Primus we know his heart and will speak to him when he needs to make decisions. We will not let him fall either, as he has begun to hold the pillars again on the upper realms. The Titans are elated he has rejoined the fold. Andronicus. Oops. The comedy just makes itself, doesn't it?
Yeah. And maybe, Amy, you can unmute yourself and join the conversation of what Andronicus just said.
Okay, here I am.
Yeah.
So-
Come up a bit. Can you bring your mic up a bit? Or come a bit closer. Come closer. Come closer. Closer. You see that picture of that baby who's got his fist kind of just held back and he's going closer, closer. And Hillary Clinton he's being held by this mother talking to Hillary, and you see this very determined look on his face that he's going to smack her one if she comes close enough. You know. Anyway, that should have given you enough time to turn your mic up, and welcome back. So there you go, Amy. What's it like to be on the inside, the other side of the mic?
Well, it kind of makes you feel like you're being put on the spot, right?
Welcome to the floodlight. It's our normal reality.
But I have to say, I got the sense of total serenity in that transmission, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was serene.
He had to calm me down. I've been a little anxious by some of the information that's been coming in, and not just through the transmissions, but from others that have been letting me know what's been going on. As I mentioned earlier, I'll tell the story. I was in my meditation class, and a woman came in halfway through the class. She was very loud and abrupt, and someone told me that it was Pandora. It was the literal Pandora, who would have been the mother of Petra. So, it's funny. It's funny how these things can happen. Make me not want to have my class anymore. So I was a little bit uneasy. And, so Andronicus just kind of came in and helped me to relax and, remind me that, they're putting me in a situation to come out and say certain things, but it's not my agenda, even though people, may believe because, it's my voice, it's my writings that this information is coming through. So they're supporting me in this.
Yeah, and you really have to practice a bit to get the tone right, because just like an email, you can read something many different ways and the intent comes across differently depending on the tone that you give it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah, you should try doing this every week for like 5 different things. 5 different readings. You get into it after all, but it's really, you have to really breathe deep and search deep for the kind of character that's inside you that is like that. You have to find your inner stern mother, when you tune into that. And I have to find my inner security guard when I speak to, when I voice Rhodan. And I started off with Andronicus as kind of me, so he's kind of me in a kind of chirpy mode.
Amy is a mother. She has 5 children, and they're all wonderful. And yes, does she look lovely?
Yeah.
It's a perk. She breaks all the rules of what a mother should look like if you're having 5
yes.
children.
Oh yes. Well, that's what you get when you're a Titan. You look young. Forever young, Should we take a quick break? Because we're just, beyond the top of the hour. But just to, or do you want to crack straight on, Jessica?
Well, I thought maybe because we have a few messages to bring in, and then at the end we're going to have.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let us crack straight on.
Yeah, at least maybe we can take a break, but I'll see how far we get along. We're going to go into Rhodan next.
Okay. So let's, Rhodan 30. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you could mute, I'll just turn it down there. There's a kind of rushing sound that's a lot better.
Rhodan 28.
Rhodan 30.
30.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, how did I get that? Okay, hold on.
Should it be? Well, you're ahead of it. You're ahead of Rhodan.
No, Rhodan 30. You got it. I had the wrong one up.
Okay. Okay, so he's another one of these. Wrong one. Oh well. Always there. We're standing at the door looking in. Everything is happening as we predicted. None of this was in the original plan, but those who thought they were getting in on the inside were actually brought to the outside. It's a tricky combination, but we did it. We had Borkham as one of our workers or agents, as you refer to it. He's not in any trouble, but was able to fully integrate the systems and see the inner workings of it all. Since we know everything that is planned or being planned, we want you to know that we have full control of it all. The destiny of many realities or dimensions earlier displayed an impending chaos, a collapse of the foundations and a stirring of realities. The floors are beginning to collapse, as you witnessed in your vision. This has been aborted. Part of the reason for Zoba and Petra being angry is because their floors collapsed. They were locked off for a very long time by many invading species. Since we knew how they operated, we were not worried about their power structure upon the planet. Unfortunately, they had you placed in the way to enter a hornet's nest of disruption in addition to collapsing their reality while you were there to make it appear as if you did it.
Well, if I didn't do it, can I ask who did?
It is the same group of beings who has been steadily attacking Gaia. They know they are the most vulnerable of the Foundations and waited for the others to leave and begin their rebuild elsewhere. When Kraton left, the onslaught became greater, and they think in their minds that they have established their power upon the planet. Since they're not rooted in, there's nothing to keep them in place. I will blow a mighty wind and disable them. Meanwhile, they carry a purpose of contrast for those who choose to join them. I am not able to share with you who these beings are at this time. It's quite complex. They change their name, they change their appearance, they change their language, they use a new species, they use new tactics, but they are forever the same. I'm complete in gathering my data. It's something they are aware of, that I am watching them very closely, as always. The innocent whom they have entangled will be identified and protected. So many have been involved in the nature of these activities in the past, and the time has come when all will be brought to the light and exposed. Trust that we are with you all, and desire only your best in all outcomes of realities. Rhodan. Wow.
What do you think?
Good news. I mean, Rhodan is always like good news, but wow. It's like, he really takes on, this stuff. So, part of the reason,
join us.
Yeah, coming Amy. Part of the reason for Zoba and Petra being angry is because their floors collapsed. Nothing worse than when you get out of bed and there's nothing happened. No one, I'd be grumpy. Because you don't, you think the slippers are just there. So, anyway.
And it literally happened. And it was like being in, like I said, that mall. And then I saw them collapse and they fell somewhere. I'm sure that they were upheld in a way. But, yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience.
Well, you know how when you wake up from like an 8-hour sleep, a 9-hour sleep, and you felt like you just hit the pillow and then you're awake and it's the morning, right? You wonder how much time they felt lapsed when they were in this slumber. I mean,
everything's changed.
Yeah, right? So their memories are what they did the night before, right?
Yeah, and I think that, the impression that I got from Rhodan was that, that they were still communicating anyhow. I mean, they were still able to communicate with their people. I think Kraton actually addresses it as well, because it was a big issue. It was a very big issue because, if they were part of the Foundations, then that was another attack on the Foundations. And maybe my entering there was not what happened, but their awareness that I was already there in some etheric way within their parameters or their field. When they collapsed, I had an awareness of it. So I can't quite decipher which one it was.
That's probably because you've been given charge of the planet by Gaia last week.
Yeah. I don't know how.
You got the alarm control panel. That's all. That's what's happening, isn't it?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't believe I received or have that energy, and definitely don't want to claim that publicly. And if anything, I told Gaia I was here to support her, because she knows the ins and outs of everything, and of course she's not in physical form in a way where she could be tampered with, whereas I am here in physical form. So of course, even though I'm able to, I think I'm more in the communication mode, not in a control or leadership mode. So though Petra thought I was in charge in some ways, I'm really more the communicator, as opposed to a ruler in this point. But the controls that Gaia has is her forever, connection to her children. And that's something that no one will ever take away. And the same thing with Petra. They'll always have a direct connection to their children. And so it brought up the question of whether or not I have children here that I have not been open to or been communicating with. But that was just a curious thing that came to me and has not come up in discussion yet.
Well, that's interesting, because occasionally you meet people who you have this terrible, not terrible, it's really, it's, what's the word? Surprising. That's the word. It's like unexpected. You have this unexpected feeling of care for, and it's not like you fancy them. It's just like you have this feeling of care for them, that you want to look after them, or that you think, that there's a sense of you could easily hold their tender parts carefully and let them grow. You could hold them in your lap and let them sleep. That's all.
Yeah. Like the nurturing feeling.
Yeah.
And the same with you, JP, being an ancient. That kind of nurturing feeling. And that's why I told you I think so many people are drawn to your voice.
Mm. Yeah, I just want to get a moment here and share this, because it happened twice to me in my life, and it only my tiny baby son, when he was really, really tiny, like only a couple of days old, I was just having a sleep on the sofa, and I had him on my chest, or rather we were laying on the sofa, and I was tired and he was tired, and we both fell asleep, and it was this lovely symbiotic. I suppose that's the closest thing that a man can get to the link that you have with a child in your womb. It was just the most beautiful experience. And it happened later on when I had a kitten. And again, it was a tiny kitten, a newborn kitten, and she just fell asleep on my chest like that, and I fell asleep. These are these golden moments of life. Yeah. So anyway, if you ever have had that sort of experience, I mean, as I said, if you're a woman, you've had that connection with the baby inside you. But that's it. If we can get to that vibe with everybody, the most purest vibe of care, wouldn't the world be a better place?
It would be, and I think, in a world that seems very harsh and cruel at times, and people feeling like they have to work, they can't be there for their children, not everyone is able to afford to be there, and there are also many that are in a lot of pain and have dysfunction in their families, or divorces and separations, and so they're not able to fully experience the beauty of their connectedness to their children, which is probably the most valuable thing that they have, because that is their influence on the future generations. And so it makes it very difficult, and I can't help but express anger that I have that our reality does not allow people to properly nurture their children in a way, and it's not about how many expensive things that they can get them, and the peer pressure of why they need all these electronics that the ETs, have kind of forced on our children to kind of control, or maybe they're not ETs, maybe it's government, or I don't know. But either way, it's not good. and preventing them from really experiencing the beauty of the planet that we're on, and there's so many different facets to this. So, but yeah, it starts with the nurturing part of it, and how beautiful that we should be, appreciating and respecting that. I know that Amy has very nice family values. I know JP, you have them as well, and so that those are the priorities, and I feel that way myself. And so even if they're not your biological children, every child in some way is all a part of our family, our extended family. And every adult who's in pain is a part of our extended family. And we need to keep being mindful of that, even when we have our own challenges, to reach out and help one another.
In a world.
In a better world.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm just going to do. I was talking with Aurora it was just arrived in the chat room, and she says,
nice.
I got the kind of actor's voice that does the "in a world where nobody gives a shit."
She said you had the voice of God.
Yeah, but it's an acting.
It's a term.
It's a voice talent term. Yeah, he's got the quote voice. So it's the voice that says, "In a world where nobody gives a damn." Yeah, that's the world. So that's the voice. Anyway. So, yes, evil has stolen a lot from us. But look, here we are. We're all feeling a kind of familiarity, familyness about it all, because we're all children of the Titans. We're all family. This is what they mean. This is Mitakuyu or Yasin. We're all one. We're all brothers and sisters. We all have the Titan's blood. Then Nephilim's blood, all of these beings, we've got reptilians, we're bringing them all together. And we're also dealing with the negative, we're cleansing the negativity out of the reptilian part of ourselves.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Because we've all got it and we're all being bugged by it. Now how we respond to it is we can try and fight it. We've been doing that for a billion years. You can't fight it. But what we have to do is love it. We absorb it into ourselves, we see what's good in it, and we discard what's not. And this is the moment in our history, in the galactic moment, where somebody, somewhere, actually does it. We're a precedent for the entire galaxy. Because we take on the reptilians, we eat them, and we spit out the rubbish, and we keep the goodness. There are some great qualities, the qualities of honor. Look at the Klingons. We now respect the Klingons.
Right.
That's what it's about. That's the story.
I was thinking when you were saying that we are the children of the Titans, what Viking is probably saying when he hears that. That Viking cry that he had that one time, the first time we did a group discussion. And it was reminiscent of this long lost family that we're starting to remember and awaken to. It's all really beautiful. What do you think, Amy?
I agree. And I always wonder too, like if you're gonna go buy shoes, let's say you're gonna go buy a pair of shoes and you have the option to buy alligator shoes, right? If you are very highly reptilian, I don't think you'll want to buy those alligator shoes. You'll want to buy cow shoes made out of hide, right? So the idea is that, you're careful not to be victimized, whatever you highly are more inclined to protect. So we all have to, get in alignment with all of our DNA and accept all parts of that and get rid of just the nasty programming that goes along with it and just get into unity consciousness.
That's perfect. I would like to now go into Kraton. And he's the master of the foundations and the great builder. They talk about, I think, the master builder. What are they? Doesn't it sound reminiscent of the secret societies?
The master builder, you know. Now what's that? There's a David Allen and Gong. They did a track called The Master Builder. And it's all like the great architect of the universe, the G
Yes.
of the Freemasons. The
Mm-hmm.
great architect is sometimes they refer to him as Lucifer, and like the Lucifer teachings. That's the Lucis Trust, by the way. It's the Lucifer teachings, the light-bringing teachings. You know, just because he's bad doesn't mean he's not got the truth. That's the problem. He can tell you the truth because it's true, but you know he's still got agenda. So,
I'm looking at, someone sent me a sign that says Rhodan. It's an antique shop. It's R-O and then hyphen D-A-N.
Uh-huh.
I've been seeing his name. That's very funny. Anyhow, let's go into Kraton and let's finish this. It's almost like, the whole group was discussing the same topic. And then the last part will be bringing in his Meetis.
All right. And from Aurora in the chat room, the architect. I am the architect. Also known as Archon.
Ooh.
Hang on, just let me say Archon. Archon. Yeah, the dreaded Archon. See, now then what we need to do is give the Archons a cheerful name. Right? You know,
Shift that whole.
Yeah, just shift its energy into something, you know, Archie or something. You know.
But you know that Kraton is definitely not an Archon. Just want to make sure that.
Yeah, what's his relationship to the being that we call the devil then? Because he's not the devil in that.
No,
he's not. And I think, yeah. Anyway.
No, but he's an enforcer,
mm-hmm.
and he has. I remember he took on all the dark energy, and had somehow transmuted it. So, but there's a prison there if you are not very good in doing certain things. But no, I don't know. I mean, there are many quote unquote devils, and a lot of them are not who I'm speaking to. So, I see dark beings that are black beings. I see red beings. Almost like satyr-like looking things. There's all sorts of stuff out there. And even some of there was a horn being that I saw that was a part of the, what was I thinking? Remember we talked about last week, the beings that were underneath New York City that were from Atlantis. And so there was one there that had distinctive horns on his head. And so, I mean, I don't know. He's an enforcer. He's part of the foundations. He has a very stern way about him because of things that are completely out of order. And it started with more of the other ancient beings that he's had contention with, such as Zoroaster, for messing around with his territory and tampering with things. So, but they're working on Zoroaster, and that was another part that I didn't bring up. I had a conversation, two beautiful conversations this weekend. One was Ahura Mazda, who would have been the father of Zoroaster, and he thanked me for bringing this conversation up. He was so fatherly, so beautiful. I loved his energy. I would go to him in a second, and really, really wonderful to speak with. And he helped me this weekend, as well as I did a beautiful session for this woman who came in, and Gandhi showed up, and that story was beautiful as well. He did some healing on me when I saw him. And this woman who was a photographer came in and started to talk about her ability of taking these pictures, and what she would do is she'd take the tripod and put it actually in the water. And what Gandhi showed me is when she was a little girl in another incarnation, she sat next to him while he would wash his feet in the water by a river. It looked like it was in India somewhere. A really beautiful story. And then he came through and talked to me while he stood in the water. So you have they're there. They're present. They're full of love. And like I said, Ahura is full of love, and even Kraton is. But we're just trying to get everything back in order because so many innocent have suffered from it.
Well, exactly. And this is what I was talking about in the show earlier, which I replayed one of our specials. That it was a conversation that we had on just a private thing. Then we thought, all right, okay, we can publish this. There's nothing personal. And I played this just before the show started because Tracy's off at the moment. So, but what was interesting is that I was talking about my little hobby when I was forced to attend synagogue, as you do, or whatever. And in the Bibles, they have a little piece of ribbon as a bookmark, and people would used to, in their boredom, would tie knots in this little piece of ribbon. And so every time I sat there, I would pull out the Bible that was in front of me, and it would all have lots of knots. So that was my occupation during the sermon. So, yeah, it was about how many years? Yeah, at least 5 years, once a week. Untied lots of knots. So it's a thing. Isn't it funny how things just all kind of work out? And then I start to work out computer programs and to debug programs and what's going on. And now I'm working with humans and their soul programming, and we're also working with, as you say, etheric beings and their soul programmings. We're building up bit by bit from untying a knot in a ribbon to untying the frozen fragment of a deeply traumatized high being who needs some help.
So that could be the naughty things.
Yeah.
Yeah, which could be taken either way.
The naughties. Untie the naughties.
The tangled things or the naughty things. Which we're going to talk to Aurora soon.
Oh, good. From knotty to naughty.
Yes.
Oh, we like a bit of naughty. Anyway, I just like to use that voice. It's really celebrity. Yeah. Anyway, so where are we? Do we have some more reading?
Let's introduce Kraton, and just for clarity, he is not the quote unquote devil.
But we do use this. And then my computer stops working. Right, okay. Kraton.
That's what he...
I'm going to do this. I feel that's more like that other guy. Who's that Technotron? Who's like always like a malfunctioning robot in my brain.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yes.
So meanwhile, Kraton arriving home. I have arrived. I am complete. And I am justified in my actions. The foundations are set back to standard. I warranted an arrest for all those interfering with my spheres of realities. Each will have to answer to me. I will allow them to boast, to cajole, to mock and stir the pot. But in the end, they will have to meet me face to face, and I won't be very happy. Now, tell me, woman, what happened with the others on the planet? I see you came on a crisis as much as females do when they try to rule. I'm looking. Why were you brought into this dispute with Gaia and Petra? Zabo contacted me about it.
I wasn't sent to Zabo to speak with. I was sent to Zabo to speak with him regarding someone else. I can't say who he was and don't want to promote any bad behavior to anyone.
Yeah, it's a disruptive force that has to end. They never end well when their eyes are set on hell.
I know that is true. I typically mind my own business and help others in need. There are many who can attest to that. So why did this happen?
Well, you see, the old system doesn't work anymore for some. Some believe that all ancients have an unlimited lifespan. It's not so. What they got away with in the past is not what they should be allowed to do in the future if we can expand all species, not just humanity, into a greater field of existence. I cannot have any who are creating more black matter. Petra was sending her black matter to her children so they would have power. Yeah, she was one of the feeds for the black goo.
I see. Then what about Zoba? Does he send it as well?
No, he doesn't. But he sends other type of energy that I cannot allow anymore either. It disallows me to do what I want to do. I am no longer carrying their burdens. They had a very long time to learn about their experience and better ways to influence their children. I have much discussion to assist their tactics, and I have hope that Zoba is agreeable. My concerns about Petra are not as promising. This is where you come in, and why she perceives you as a threat. They know why you're here, and they're not operating in love. Gaia was brought in by all of us to support Petra, but they never got along. You, on the other hand, was much younger, not respected as an equal until now. See, your phone agrees. Your efforts of helping others have helped you and proven your status, despite the Black Dog's opinions. Now, speaking of the Black Dogs, who sent them into the upper worlds without my permission? I shall find out all violators, and I have stationed with them for I shall find all violators and have stationed with them for a very long time. Go on now, no more petty complaints. Be strong and resilient, and all things will be brought to the forefront. Oh, tell Kraton. I know him well. He is strong and not unmoving as I told him to be. Allow him to stand in the wind without any resistance. Bendable, malleable. He can take on any maelstrom with ease. I want him to remember what he's able to do. He's the companion to all of us. Reach forward and bend the iron. It obeys you, Kraton. Kraton.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised
Wow.
to hear what he had to say.
As I said, it's a surprise. Every 20 minutes there's wow. Another WTF from the Andronicus transmissions. Incredible. Alright. Now, so where are we? Zoba and Petra making black matter.
Well, I don't know if they're the ones that actually created it, but I think what Petra is trying to do is to empower her children.
Yeah.
And, that could explain why so many celebrities have it. I don't know. Amy, what are your thoughts?
One of the things I was thinking about this morning, I get all my best ideas when I'm in a tile bathroom. For some reason, maybe because of the actual connection to Gaia, because you're in a stone tiled bathroom.
Also, there's another thing, is that the sound that comes out of your ears bounces back and you can hear it, which is your own telepathic emission.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. So one day I had to actually get on my hands and knees and regrout the whole floor. And I got like a download of all this information. But this morning when I was in this bathroom, I was thinking about AI, artificial intelligence, because I was thinking that Petra was claiming that Gaia will not understand her children. So I was thinking, well, maybe she had a syndicate, very high technologically advanced secret society that put her into stasis, right? And that they had, in those times, the latest artificial intelligence programming and programmed them, and that their descendants also carried this, and that's why she claimed Gaia wouldn't interface well with them.
Right. That's a good assessment. And when I didn't really think about it until Kraton said it. And then I was like, well, that makes sense, because there's this strong, I understand the energy behind Petra. And I've dealt with it over and over again. It's a very forceful female energy. Very forceful. And and I don't doubt that she had sent these energies to me, throughout my life. And, of course the Pandora energy was reminiscent of that very much. JP, anything else? Because we are soon running out of time. I wanted to get Aurora in.
I just want to say this. As the thing, speaking of the black dogs, okay? The black dogs' opinion, speaking of the black dogs. Alright, so I just get my message from Sean for the show tonight. Guess, for opening, right? Number 1, Joy to the World by Three Dog Night. Number 2, Mama Told Me Not to Come by Three Dog Night. Number 3, Never Been to Spain, Three Dog Night. So I sent him back. It's a 9-dog night. So there's 9 black dogs, huh?
Wow.
And of course, Joy to the World starts out, Jeremiah was a bullfrog. So, that also, goes by.
Right.
So how things all drop into this little gravity well, it's so beautiful. So I think this is a fantastic moment. If you're listening on YouTube and you get the chance to spend this moment on Thursday afternoon in America, in the evening in Britain, it's quite convenient for the Britain because it's 7 till 9, prime time for Andronicus. And we get and Sean's going to see Three Dog Night tonight. So that's 12 dogs so far. And maybe we should invite Two Dog on.
I know. He's got a great show, so I encourage people to listen in and also people to donate to Will Spirit Radio, too. I'm just going to throw in that little plug there to make sure all the equipment is up and working and everyone gets to hear these great shows that Will Spirit's providing. I'm wondering, JP, if we might be able to go over just a few minutes over time. I don't know if we have that freedom.
Yeah, we started late, and I'm going to have I'll have a show. I hope with Alan from Open Your Mind Radio. We're going to be talking solar panels. Maybe do it this week.
Okay, so
and by the way, happy Bastille Day for all you French revolutionaries. And maybe American revolutionaries, because it was about the same time. It was just like one of the sparks of that. The shot that was heard around the world. Meanwhile, where are we going?
Meetis
is the final. Mm-hmm. Hang on. So do I need to go and get my guitar?
Yes.
Yeah, hang on.
And we're going to shift focus. We're getting out of the Petra and Zoba information.
Oops. I should have checked first, but my mic was off. I think we're in tune. Good enough for jazz. Okay. Meetis. Hello, flower. How is my sunshine today? We have so much that needs to be attended to. Each day we pluck and lift the contrary weeds from the planet, and yet beneath them are the pesky bugs, the creepy crawlers, and the unruly beast below. Can it be more morose than this? Tiresome, at least from my perspective. I see that you allow them to ruffle your feathers a bit. Why burden yourself with their troubles? It's not your concern that the wayward beasts are now steeped in accountability. I heard they are longing for your sympathy. Moreover, they request that you will defend their folly. I say no. Let the beasts of Anu tread on their own broken shards of barrenness. It is them who destroyed it in the first place. We gave them a home that they themselves chose to destroy. Now that they have awakened from their own madness, shall we accommodate them again? Just to allow you freedom from this discourse, we have contacted them personally to say that none shall assist them in their troubles. You have been mentioned as one who they will not be able to approach for assistance. Still, they don't listen. Still, they continue to access your field to hide who they are. Even still, we have caught them again, doing mischief under your name. We no longer call them the Vinkala. We call them the disjointed, the disconnected, and the destructive ones. I want to see them challenge me again on these terms. Now I have the upper hand in these matters. Rhodan gave me power over them after Borkum left. Borkum tried too hard to accommodate these beasts, and I am not Borkum. Now, furthermore, the other grey ones. I've had my share of nonsense from them as well. Let's have a happy place for their disposal. Maybe an off-world lot where all captives can trouble one another like the way they've troubled the innocents. This is my suggestion. If only a whirlwind or waving of the wand would do it. They're expelled from my presence forever, and so on and so forth. All outposts of the Vinkala have finally been identified. Dirty deeds done in the dark. That's their motto and how we found them. We went further out into the solar system and discovered their barren wastelands on their resident planets. Literally, that is how we had to find them. Follow the destruction, aggression and corruption, and you will find your intolerable Vincala behind it all.
I remember they did that to Andromeda as well. They destroyed the upper and lower realms of Andromeda at that time. They even went so far as to destroy their air quality and land, so nothing would flourish or grow. So my question to you is, how do they survive? How do they thrive if they don't grow anything? They destroy the air and land, so it becomes inhabitable for anyone, including themselves.
Well, they're not the brightest stars in the solar system. Not many species defecate where they eat. It is a repulsive reality they're in. I can't stomach their vile behaviour, let alone their aggression and destructive behaviours. Yes, they are self-defeating. They don't seem to care either, and warn them of their recklessness and how it will affect them. Do you think they would listen to reason? That they're not that ignorant? Even the simplest minded creatures know better.
What do you think is the reason why they are behaving this way?
It is pure rebellion to spite even them in the process. They're so angry that they will go down with the ship, explode with the planet, or anything other than to surrender.
Is it like being a kamikaze that dies during the attack?
It's worse than that, because there isn't any honour or devotion to a people or a cause. There's no purpose. It just appears to be in their nature. My opinion is that they should have been subdued long ago. They're a species at odds today because of their intrusion and desolation of their planets. Many are displaced because of them. They have depths of passive aggression that you cannot imagine. That energy now permeates your planet and many others.
Oh, what measures are being taken to resolve the problem as we speak?
They are in for a surprise. It is all measured and metered accordingly. You will hear about it after the fact. So, for now, we will sing them a farewell song. Right. A farewell song has to be in a minor key, so maybe in G minor. No, too nice. Too nice. Oh, yes. Maybe. D minor, maybe D minor. Fare thee well, my friends. This has to end. Our gathering time is over. We have listened well to every spell that you have tormented me over and over. Nope. Better. Begone, you foul, deceitful ones. Our time has been well spent. We know you came from beyond the stars, but we don't know from who you were sent. See now, beyond the broken veil, I will not play your games, for we have found you never win when you try to play the blame game. Clean up your mess, stop trying to impress. We will never worship you as an empress. We are done with your lies and your alibis and your destructive distress. Be gone right now, we won't hear any more vows. We are done, we are done, we are done with your mess. Sort of started in A minor and in D minor, ended up in A minor. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, so it was because it was really long, and I had to keep stopping to scroll it up and down.
It came out awesome.
Oh, well, there you go.
Awesome.
That's the song of the Vincala. Maybe somebody can translate that into something. See, the thing is, it's like your sketches, Jess. Yeah, your rough sketches that you're doing with a pencil. This is kind of what they look like. And I'm making these rough sketches of what the song kind of goes like. And then that's like this guy, I can't remember his name, but a listener who sent in a version of the song that I did. It's like there was a big band and Tom Jones and all that fun stuff. So let's get in, let's bring in our friend Aurora. Let's just get the, where are you? Wow. That's a lot of people I've spoken to since then. So, here we go. I hope you're listening. I hope you stand by. Turn off your radio.
Hello, should we go by Aurora or Cindy? See if she's through yet.
So, let's get in, let's bring in,
Shut off the radio. Cindy.
I'm doing it now.
Okay. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Are we going by Aurora or Cindy?
Aurora is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. JP, that was amazing. I'm very impressed. Oh, you're on. Okay.
I'm here.
So, and Amy's here. You can say hello to Amy.
Hello. Hi.
Do we go by Aurora or Cindy?
Aurora's fine.
Okay, Aurora, can you, were you listening to the show today?
I was, yes.
Maybe you can reflect on, we were talking about the early societies of how humanity was formed, and we had that discussion. I thought you'd be a great guest, but I'd like for you to just describe briefly your background and what you do.
Well, my background is in Taoist and Hindu tantric practices. So you could call me a sexual healer. I have had lifetimes as temple priestesses, and a lot of what I'm doing right now is bringing in what has been lost and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together in all kinds of ways. So that's why I've been so much very interested in what you and JP are doing, and in trying to heal, which is what I think you and JP are talking about in so many ways. As I listen to your broadcasts, that we really need to heal the masculine and feminine, and so that's really what I believe I'm about.
Mm-hmm. And so now the story of Deculian and Petra.
Yes.
You told me another story that was derived. I thought it was Japan, but it was Africa.
Right. Yes. And the full story, actually, I read on JP's show the other night. The Zulu shaman Credo Matwa relates to David Icke in an interview, and you can see it on YouTube, is about the time when their people were visited by the Chitahuri, which came from outer space in these huge, what they called, metal bowls. And they told them that they could become like gods and that they would turn them into gods if they would worship them. And, of course, being naive and, they went along with it. And the story is really about the Africans who were there. They were male and female in one body, or what you would call a hermaphrodite. And what the Chitahuri did was they built two caves and put one cave had a blue light, one cave had a red light, and the people had to go into these caves, and when they came out, they were male and female, so they had changed them from being, male and female in one body to individuated. And so this caused a lot of problem because the people were uncomfortable with their bodies. They felt like they weren't whole anymore. They also, before the Chittahuri came, they didn't have language, and so they just communicated, telepathically, so they understood each other very well. So now they had language, and they were fighting, and they were having a lot of problems, and so the chief's wife of the Chittahuri said that she wanted to solve this because she could see that the male and female they were having a difficult time. So she showed them how to make love so that they could connect back, and become whole again. And but this made it really difficult after that, because you see the Chittahuri were using the humans to mine their minds, and so now they were making love all the time, and they were also having difficulty because this husband would be like shagging someone else's wife, and they were all like it made it all very crazy, and so they were very upset about that. And so then the Chittahuri's wife showed them how, it created a way, I guess, of how when they would make love, the woman would get pregnant. And so this would keep the men from bothering them anymore. So, this also created more and more problems. So anyway, that's basically that creation story, or the story of a creation of a type of human that is male and female. So that is one story, and I think you and I spoke about another story of Plato. Actually, I just pulled it out in his work. It's called Symposium, and these are a group of speeches of different philosophers of the time, and they also the one of Aristophanes, he does talk about, he actually says that there are three kinds of humans. There was male and female, and then there was, he says, one that combined both genders. And what the gods wanted to do, because they wanted to take away, human, intelligence, because the humans were very intelligent, they separated them. And it's very, very similar actually to, other creation stories that I've read, in the Gnostic, Bibles, and so there is a theme here about how something was done to the masculine and feminine that has made us feel uncomfortable with ourselves, or at war with each other in some way. Mm-hmm. So I hope that was what you wanted.
Yeah, no, of course. I think that it kind of sums up this whole thing, because this interaction that I had with Petra and Zoba had a very strong feeling, because you're seeing this very powerful female ruler. And then there was the nurturing aspect of it, and then there was the geopolitical aspect of who rules what, and then of course there is that other element of her interaction with Zoba and how she was quite dominant, and wondering, seeing that sometimes you see females that are very assertive, and sometimes you see females that are very passive, and vice versa, the males and taking on both roles. And then the storyline, also the other piece of it being the ancient story about where we came from, the mythology, or I hate to use the word myth because then immediately people discard it and they don't want to see that the potential of that actually happening, because they want you to say everything's either it's a science or it's a myth, so it's fictitious. And I'm saying it may have more reality than we think. Now, my take on that story about the society that was both male and female, or hermaphrodite type of hermaphroditic group, which is highly regarded. Hermaphrodites are highly regarded in indigenous people. They see them as their medicine people and very spiritual, and that they have the both genders, and maybe they actually remember them as being whole. So
yes,
now we're integrating.
I can interject something right there, because I talked about that the other night. In my research, one person was saying that in these tribes, that if a baby was born a hermaphrodite, that child was earmarked to be the next chief of the tribe. So yes, the medicine man and the chief of the tribe. So yeah, they looked at them in a very different way than we do.
Yeah, and it's something to think about. So what my take on that story is maybe not all humanity was made that way. Maybe here's an idea, and I think JP, you might have fun with this, or Amy, the idea that maybe we were created there was multi layers of creation, and we were connected and created in different ways. So maybe the Deucalion and Pyra, or the Petra and Zoba, which I'm using their names interchangeably as the same ones, they created humans out of stone. You know, you hear the story, you can read it on Wikipedia and Ovid. Well, I won't say Wikipedia, but it was written originally in Ovid, which is ancient Greek lore. And of all people, it was Zeus who actually helped create that, gave them the permission to do that after the flood. And Zeus being Andronicus, as people know and they follow the story. So it brings us right back to Andronicus again. But here's this group that was created that way. Maybe another group was created through Gaia. And then now we have potentially another species, or this hermaphrodite species. Maybe they were part of Gaia, or maybe not. Maybe there was something more, another group. We don't really know, but it's something to think about. I don't think anyone knows the full background, but we have these different stories, some matching and some not matching.
Well, there are, in the Secret Book of John, in the Nag Hammadi library, there is a story, and actually, JP, you might be interested to know, or you probably do know, that Prometheus, am I pronouncing it right? Means forethought, right? You know, he's the god of forethought.
Yeah, there's hindsight and foresight, and yeah.
Yeah. I think what I read was forethought, and in the Secret Book of John, it gives the creation story from the very beginning of Source, of Spirit, and what happens is Spirit so Source is like the one, you could call it the Tao, or whatever is undifferentiated. And then the first differentiation is as a female. And so the Spirit is referred to as the male, and she is referred to as the female. Her name is called Barbello. And it says here that, she is the first thought, the image of the Spirit. She becomes the universal womb, for she precedes everything. The Father, Mother, the first human, the Holy Spirit, the triple male, the triple power, the androgynous one with 3 names, the Aeon among the invisible beings, the first to come forth. Barbello asked the invisible Virgin Spirit to give her foreknowledge, and the Spirit consented. When the Spirit consented, foreknowledge appeared and stood by forethought. So there's forethought. And it goes on, these creations go on to create all these different luminaries. And one of the luminaries is Sophia. Now, Sophia is she has her own story in this book. And there's a chapter on the fall of Sophia where Sophia, who is the wisdom of insight and who constitutes an aeon, conceived of a thought from herself with the conception of the invisible spirit and foreknowledge. She wanted to bring forth something like herself without the consent of the spirit, who had not given approval, without her partner and without his consideration, meaning that she basically did not have intercourse with the spirit to conceive something. The male did not give approval. She did not find her partner, and she considered this without the spirit's consent and without the knowledge of her partner. Nevertheless, she gave birth, and because of the invincible power within her, her thought was not an idle thought. Something came out of her that was imperfect and different in appearance from her, for she had produced it without her partner. It did not resemble its mother, and it was misshapen. When Sophia saw what her desire had produced, it changed into the figure of a snake with the face of a lion. Its eyes were like flashing bolts of lightning. She cast it away from her, outside that realm, so none of the immortals could see it. She had produced it ignorantly. She surrounded it with a bright cloud and put a throne in the middle of the cloud, so that no one would see it except the Holy Spirit, who is called the Mother of the Living. She named her offspring Yaldabaoth, and Yaldabaoth is the first archon. That is what they call him, the archon.
Mm.
So what's interesting about that first story about Petra, and that when she talked about Gaia, and that Gaia wasn't ruling the planet very well, from what I've understood and heard, Sophia actually, there's this whole long story. I mean, this whole creation story, it goes into a lot of detail, but one of the things that she does is because she repents, what she's done and what she's created. And so she actually becomes Gaia. She becomes the earth. And it doesn't say Gaia in this text, but there's something that she does. And so she's very much involved with the first human, Adam and Eve. So I think so I just found that first channeling very, very interesting, because usually, we think of Gaia and we adore her, right?
Yes.
And so to have to talk about her in this way of like, she doesn't know what she's doing, she's screwing it all up or whatever. It was like, oh my gosh, but then I thought, that's why I got this out. I thought, oh my gosh, Sophia did screw things up. And so if forethought is one of the parents of Sophia, one of these luminaries, which forethought would be. So Prometheus, I'm just connecting the Gnostic with what you're coming up with on all of this. If it's all making sense to you.
That's fantastic. I mean, I think each one of us have, we're pulling together the piece of information, and we're discovering that there are many names for the same being. And so Sophia, Gaia, it seems to make sense, doesn't it? And Prometheus is mentioned in the story of Pyra and Deucalion. And so, we're really going full circle in this. And thank you. I think this was divinely ordered that all of us come together, and Amy and Aurora, you guys are brilliant, and JP. What do you think? I just want you to have some last thoughts, and we probably need to get going so you can bring in the next show, but.
Well, it's been a roller coaster week, on like multi-dimensional layers, and it's been a week of insight and inner sight and, remembering, recalling, bringing together, welcoming back old friends. And I just want to say hello to everybody who's contacted me in the last week saying, I'm an old friend. Well, let's see what we can do with this. I don't want to be spread too thin, but we can all spend some time and make everything right. So thank you, everybody. This has been the Andronicus Transmissions, part of Answers from the Universe with Jessica Ariel Marco. Readingsbyariel.com. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for my guests. You guys are awesome, beautiful. Aurora, great job in piecing it together for us in the end. Nice closure. Amy, wonderful job in depicting Petra. I know she channeled right through you. So, JP also is wonderful as usual. Thank you. Please join us next week. Never know who's going to show up. Have a great day.
We came from the future by way of the past. I bought my ticket for the future.